somebody gotta do it. I take the G. Shit, watch a nigga do it. We survived outside, all from the music, nigga. What? They like, what he on? This the Alpha and Omega, bitch. Welcome home. This is not a song. This is a revelation. How to get a nigga gone. I need you a man, baby. I don't understand, baby. Pay a bill and make you feel protected like I can, baby. Teach you something if you need correction. That's the plan, baby. Don't put your life in these weird niggas' hands, baby. Whoa! It's not enough. Few solid niggas left, but it's not enough. Few bitches that are really step, but it's not enough. Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. I get on their ass. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I made them niggas mad. Yeah, somebody gotta do it. I take the G pad. Shit, watch a nigga do it. We survived outside, all from the music, nigga. What? Hey, turn this TV off. Ain't with my type activities, then don't you get involved. Hey, look, how many shit I see? Send them off. Take a risk or take a trip. You know I'm tripping for my dog. Who you with? Couple sergeants and routines for the get back. This revolution been televised. I fell through with the knickknacks. Hey, young nigga, get your chili up. Yeah, I meant that. Hey, black out. If they act out, yeah, I did that. Hey, what's up, though? I hate a bitch that's hating on a bitch, and they both hoes. I hate a nigga hating on them niggas, and they both broke. If you ain't coming for no chili, what you come for? Nigga feel like he entitled, cause he knew me since a kid. Bitch, I cut my granny off and she don't see it how I see it. Got a big mouth, but he lack big ideas. Send him to the moon, that's just how I feel, yeah, then. It's not enough. Few solid niggas left, but it's not enough. Few bitches that are really step, but it's not enough. Say you bigger than myself, but it's not enough. Hey. Hey. Nope. Master! Nigga second bad, but somebody gotta do.
Day, nothing changes. All I want is a moment to think clearly, but thoughts come unrelenting, consuming every waking moment. My mind binds me and I can't escape. I shout for help, but no one hears me. One day I feel I'll just disappear. Lost in this chaos, I'm searching for peace.
Boom, and welcome every single person to the WWE Dirt Sheet Radio SmackDown recap show. It is your boy Neek, Nick LaRocco. You might remember me from this past WrestleMania weekend where myself alongside the son of Dirt Sheet Radio founder John Escudero, son being John Escudero Jr., we're covering a lot of stuff with WrestleMania and the Raw before then. Well, I am back. If you saw a little bit earlier today, myself and my WCW tag team partner, Mac, talked all about Starrcade 1985. So, hey, after this, make sure you go and check it out. I might even explain why I'm wearing the Hulk Hogan Pastamania tank top, brother. But hey, we're not talking about Starrcade. We're not talking about Pastamania, dude. What we are talking about is tonight's episode of WWE SmackDown. I don't know about you guys, but it was kind of a bittersweet episode in the sense that WWE has just gone through a series of budget cuts, and this has been happening, honestly, all throughout the day. All that to say, it was kind of rough. It was kind of hard to sit through and watch an episode of SmackDown when you're thinking of, is anyone that I'm watching, going to be next on the chopping block? And it is unfortunately just one of the things that sometimes happens with sports leagues and, different organizations such as that. But it's just rough, and, just a few of the people who ended up getting released, and, we don't know probably everyone just yet, but Braun Strowman, one of the biggest names, literally and figuratively, from the list that was let go. You also had Shayna Baszler, Caden Carter, Katana Chance, Jakara Jackson, Cora Jade, Dakota Kai, Gigi. Yeah, it was rough. There's a bunch of other people. One of the hosts from The Bump, senior VP of creative writing. So go and keep up with Dirt Sheet Radio Pro Wrestling Network for all of the latest updates on WWE's recent budget cuts. But hey, we don't have to worry about anything right now other than us hanging out, chat, and we are going to be I don't know why the music stopped, but we're going to be talking all about this main event. And usually what we do on these shows is we open with the main event. So, hey, let's get right on in there. I'm going to get some music on in the background. I hope you guys like some Halo stuff. We're going to get the Halo Covenant Dance playing. Chat, let me know if you guys remember this song. But yeah, that main event, let's get right over there. We had Jade and Tiffany Stratton taking on Nia Jax and Naomi, with Jade Cargill and Tiffy Time getting that victory. Honestly, I'm gonna be looking at the Pro Wrestling Network as I kind of follow along through the show. Again, here's the big thing, guys. SmackDown is a 3-hour show. I'm gonna try my absolute hardest to not keep us here for 3 hours. There's no reason a recap show needs to be 3 hours long. Am I right? So we're gonna be looking at the main event. Jade and Tiffany defeated Nia Jax and Naomi. What happened there was Jade got the victory, and we also got the announcement that Jade and Nia Jax are going to be going one-on-one next week for a title shot up against the Women's World Champion. So I cannot wait for that match, honestly. I have always wanted to see Jade and Nia Jax go at it, and I think that's going to be a banger match, but we were able to see some potential foreshadowings going on here. Of course, you had Jade and Tiffy. They didn't get along completely the whole time, but you also had Naomi wanting to prove that all need to be cautious around her. I feel the glow, and everyone should feel the caution. It was interesting too, because I think there was an audio glitch, and they might have accidentally played Naomi's previous original song very, very brief. But yeah, this definitely led to a couple moments in the end. I gotta say, Tiffany getting the hot tag with Jade was actually pretty interesting, and I think they did a great job of showcasing all 4 women and all of their talents, especially being able to see Jade running powerbomb with Nia Jax. That was awesome. I don't think Jade was able to necessarily get every single bit of it. But that being said, I think she was able to showcase the power, and it definitely built up for next week's match. Honestly, all around, I would personally give the main event match, I'll give it a B. It was not bad. It was not a bad way to end the show by any means. And again, I think this match did a great job of showcasing what all 4 of these women wrestlers can do. I just think that, it was just more decent than anything, and I think when you have some amazing talents in there, you expect more, especially from a main event where we look at last week, and even a whole promo package dedicated to that wild TLC match. So it felt like this was kind of almost an afterthought. Think about it from the grand scheme of it all, but Naomi attacked Jade and Tiffany shortly after that end match, after they were posing here, and leads to Naomi standing tall with the belt to end the show once Tiffany and Jade were playing tug of war with that championship title. Definitely an interesting choice, I have to say, but all in all, I really look forward more so. I mean, yeah, we mentioned the battle of the powerhouse with Jade and Nia Jax, but honestly, Naomi and Tiffany, I think, are going to absolutely kill it together as well if they were to do anything together. But getting back to it, we'll go to the very top of the show. Again, too, after all is said and done, and I go through the 3 hours that I spent watching this program, what's going to happen then is I am going to look at Jobber and Megastar of the Night. But, first and foremost, let's go and take a look at what opened the show. And what opened the show was, LA Knight and Damian Priest. They got into a brawl backstage with Solo Sikoa and Jacobs 2. And, of course, you gotta get everyone. I mean, everyone's so, of course, you gotta have a match in there. Damian Priest took on LA Knight, and we had a lovely DQ finish. Was there a DQ finish? Boom, that's why. Solo Sikoa comes out and causes a disqualification. There was a little bit of a messiness, I feel, with this match, but I have to say, what was really making it fun was the crowd. Crowd was on fire for this one. There were some amazing signs in the crowd, by the way, and I think this was definitely a fun match to start off the show. Kind of hate that we had to get the disqualification, but of course you can see where it's leading to with the recently announced Fatal 4-Way for Backlash. Actually, I'm going to pull up the card for Backlash real quick. And that is going to be very, very soon. It will be on May the 10th, which is next Saturday. Taking place in St. Louis, Missouri. Announced was for a four-way for the United States Championship. The champion, Jacob Fatu, will be defending against LA Knight, Damian Priest, and, of course, Drew McIntyre. But I didn't really I didn't really hate this match. I'm going to give it another B. This was the same rating that I gave the main event match. Not that it was necessarily bad by any means, but it was the finish that really, I think, kind of killed it for me. But Priest was awesome. Priest was able to showcase a lot of his power. He was showcased as he usually does, when he exhibits the spirit of Scott Hall. And as a huge Scott Hall fan myself, I absolutely love this. So kudos to him anytime he's able to represent. And it was really fun, too, if you think about it, because Damian Priest and LA Knight are both two very old-school wrestlers. Quite frankly, this is it's a fun match. I feel like, there's just so many times that you've had these two veterans together one way or another. Maybe it's not necessarily a match, but I thought there were some awkward moments. And one of the ones listed here in my notes, we have Knight getting in position for Damian Priest to hit the Razor's Edge. It was a little rough. It was a little shaky. And again, there's some moments where, because these two guys are veterans, I think we hold them to a much higher standard than we would with some others. But all in all, not a terrible match. But what we had with the next match was Pretty Deadly taking on Frexium. And the winners of that match were Nathan Frazier and Axiom, of course. Match itself, not bad. It was very interesting too when you think about it, because you got four of the young up-and-coming superstars who are going to definitely be the future for the next several years of WWE, taking each other on. I thought it was pretty cool. I think too, I think this is Bleacher Report that's saying that the new ring announcer called him Ethan instead of Elton. So you know what, he's getting this. But, I've been watching, I know I'm one of the only people that sometimes will tune into WWE Speed, right? On occasion, I've watched Speed, and I've been able to see Frazier work, and the dude can go. And Axiom is just phenomenal when I've seen him on NXT. I mean, both these guys, they've killed it from NXT, they killed it in NXT UK, they kill it on Speed, and right now they are killing it in the tag team division. Elton and Kit, I thought they always have a very fun presentation, but Pretty Deadly just wasn't able to get their victory, but they did a great job of making Frexium look like a force. And I want to say kudos to Frazier for hitting that freaking Phoenix Splash to secure that victory. This was a fun match. I honestly thought this should have been the match that opens the show for us. Again, that's me speaking as a WCW guy who just loves when we can open a show with some quick-paced, high-flying action. And I think these guys definitely delivered that. And I'm going to give this match a solid give it A-. It wasn't the worst match by any means, and I think this was definitely better than the last couple matches I talked about, and I think this would have definitely been a solid opening. But one of the big matches that I think we all were tuning in for, especially following last week and the last few weeks and months even, of just the innuendo of a certain mysterious force making his dark, sinister way back into the WWE. It was, of course, I am speaking of Aleister Black. Aleister Black has now returned to the WWE. And what happens when you return to WWE? You take on The Miz. I think there's a lot of discourse online about this. I can't blame a lot of people for thinking that, it's kind of awkward that we're throwing him in with The Miz. Bear in mind, Mike Mizanin, The Miz, he is a almost 20-year veteran now of WWE, which is wild to think about, if not already 20 years. He is a former multi-time world champion in WWE, and he's been in the ring with so many countless legends and greats of the last couple of decades. So, he's really stood the test of time. So, when you think about it, he's not the worst hand you could throw in there. It's kind of awkward that he's almost in that role that Dolph Ziggler kind of used to be. And I feel like if Ziggler was still around in WWE, that would have been his role. So it would have been Aleister Black instead of Kaiba. That was for you, Matt. I hope I was able to maintain and make you proud with my Yu-Gi-Oh! Reference. But getting to it, Miz came out with Mello in his corner. I think this was interesting in the sense that The Miz also was referencing how long he was in the company for, but I feel like the way he said it kind of came off a certain way because they just had those cuts earlier that we talked about. But all in all, I think it was very clever that you have this established veteran who's doing some veteran things. He's ducking and dodging. He knows what Aleister Black is capable of. I do apologize in advance if I accidentally call him Malachi Black, by the way. I've just been so used to that for the last couple of years. But it was cool to see him come back. I love that Aleister Black has that theme song. I've seen a lot of people online saying the same thing. Fortunately, though, I have also seen a lot of people really trash on this match. I didn't really. I've seen a lot of other people hate it. Chat, please let me know how you felt about Black versus Miz. Personally speaking, I really didn't mind this match. Again, it's an established veteran in The Miz going toe-to-toe with Aleister Black. Unfortunately, Miz kind of always is the default, de facto guy to go into these roles. But honestly, I think he did everything that he needed to do for this. And taking that Black mask kick, wow. Miz looked like he lost a tooth. And it looked like it just knocked him out, knocked him silly. And I thought it was pretty funny, too, when Miz was trying to do some of Aleister Black's moves on him. Like, it just had no effect. Miz did a great job of kind of avoiding the Black Mask at the very start by just kind of falling. And, there was nothing graceful or cute or beautiful about it. Then you have Aleister Black who gets out. He counters the skull-crushing finale with an incredible cartwheel out of it and just right there, boom, kicks Miz right in the face. So you definitely have a contrast of styles there, and it was almost Aleister Black's way of saying, hey, Miz, listen, anything you can do, I can do better. Well, that was absolutely true because Aleister Black secures the victory, and we had a pretty cool moment where we had Mello and Black staring each other down, face to face, eye to eye. Yeah, I'm excited. I think that's going to be an awesome match. I absolutely love that we're already starting to build to more. I was kind of worried myself that we're just going to stick with The Miz and it's just going to be too long-term of a thing. We've seen that in the last several years when people have been coming back to the WWE. I am glad that we're not just staying with Miz. This was just meant to kind of be the reestablishment match, make sure everyone, remembers Aleister Black. He played the hits, and he showed a few new things in there, and I'm excited to see now what's going to happen between Black and Mello. Again, chat, please let me know what you think. Also, real quick, I wanted to get to, we had, building up towards the main event, promo where Nia Jax rips into Tiffy time. And of course, then Naomi comes out and wants to have her own claim at the title shot, which is why she was holding up the title at the end of the night, because she also wants to take on Tiffy time. But Jade also comes in there because, hey, Jade's got to get her payback, right? And on top of that, we had a bit of a ringside brawl between the ladies until Nick Aldis comes out and he books the main event match that we just discussed. And I appreciated the way that Nick Aldis sort of did his Teddy Long impersonation match, that we're going to have a tag team match later tonight. And I think he even said playa. So kudos to that. Now that is how you the GM. Also going into this immediately, like right after Aleister Black had a match. I wonder if this was by design or not. Right after Aleister Black has his match, Zelina Vega has her match. We had Zelina Vega take on part of the Secret Service, Piper Niven, and she had Chelsea Green and Elfire in her corner. Zelina was able to secure the victory. The match wasn't terrible. Personally speaking, I don't know if Zelina and Piper really had a lot of chemistry together, but Zelina looked awesome. And all in all, I love any excuse just to have Piper in the ring to have a match. Piper's one of my personal favorites on the roster, so again, I'm always a fan to be able to see her. I don't think this was really all that great of a match, though, and I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I got zoned out for some of it, not even intentionally. It's just one of those things. Again, it's a long 3-hour show, and not everything's going to really hit script. All in all, though, I think Chelsea Green has really been doing a great job of making, not just, we loved her title run, but I think the title loss is also kicking Chelsea Green into the stratosphere. Her and the Secret Service have been wearing all black. They are in total mourning right now. Again, it felt kind of weird with the whole thing with all the releases earlier, but you kind of know what the intention was for it. It was less awkward and less bad taste, I feel. I think all in all, though, Chelsea Green is one of the most entertaining women on the whole roster, and I think it's been really fun to see how she's been handling the loss of a title. And it's fun to see a storyline where, the loss of a championship is impacting someone. It's not something where it's like, oh, I just lost the title. I just dropped this title to you. How's about I just go and either hang out in catering for a little bit, have people forget that happened, and then I'll come back to it. No, the loss of the title actually truly meant something. So I'm excited to kind of see what Chelsea's going to do with this, because again, she's very entertaining. We also had a fantastic lucha match. We had Rey Fenix taking on Santos, and it was fun. You could definitely see that. I don't know if I have a picture of this pop up here, do I? I might not. My apologies there, but I want to get through some of the matches there real quick. Santos took on Rey Fenix. Nothing more to say with that. You had two great veteran luchadors. This was definitely one of the matches. So after this, if you haven't seen it, please check it out. I highly recommend it. Rey Fenix secures the victory, and it was fun to. It's fun to see Santos wrestling, because I feel like one-on-one we just really haven't seen much of him, and it feels like he's kind of been just an extra in recent years, and I think the same can really apply to the entirety of Legado del Fantasma. And Phoenix did a really awesome Meteora from the top and ended a real great match. These guys worked very well together. I really would not mind seeing these guys run it back again. I think too, like both these guys were able to land on their feet like it was nothing. And we also had a promo segment sometime after this where we had Legado del Fantasma. Santos very upset with Humberto and Angel Garza because of the fact that they weren't supporting him. They haven't been helping him. And who else but Andrade to walk up? And it was interesting because, you got the Sombra family and you got the Fantasma family. You got the Shadows and the Phantoms. It is interesting, and it seems that Andrade wants to, similarly to what he just did in AEW, and even a couple years back when it was him and Zelina in like 2019, 2020, I think Andrade is kind of wanting to form a super group of his own stuff. And it looks like it was starting to be pretty convincing for Mr. Humberto. So we're gonna see what happens there. Now, we can't talk about this episode of SmackDown and not go over that Randy Orton. Randy Orton, I'm going to get up a actual thing about this. Shout out to Randy Orton, by the way. There was a kid out there who's like right in the aisleway, and he is motioning. He wants a hug from Randy, and I think Randy is just like, is that something I should do? Is that something? Eventually he does, and I think the kid like pulled back, but then they hugged it out. They hugged it. He hugged them. kudos to that. Randy, you're a good guy. But yeah, Randy Orton comes out, and one of the biggest things was Randy Orton talking about John Cena. John Cena and Randy Orton will be going head-to-head at Backlash for the undisputed WWE Championship. And, I personally, it's one of those things where you just kind of had to be there back then. Like, in 2009, when they were rocking, like, Cena and Orton, there were a lot of moments where, it was like, this is so cool, because, you might remember them from, like, 2002, and these guys are just rookies on SmackDown, and it's like, in 2009, they were both fully established main event performers, and then they started to kind of run it a little too much, 10, 11, 12 onwards. By when was that championship ascension ladder match? Like, was that like late 2013, early 2014? I know that was before CM Punk left. I think it was like late 2013. Like, that started to be such a stale match that you almost never wanted to see them go head-to-head ever again since then. And I think after that, they did a very good job of keeping them separate, as the Offspring say. You got to keep them separate. And, they would run it back and forth here and there over the years. But it's really interesting to see what the current dynamic is between Randy Orton and John Cena. Because I don't quite recall, unless it was in OVW, that we've been able to see a face Randy Orton versus a heel John Cena. And if we have, it's been over 20 years by now. So I think this is going to be something very, very intriguing. I don't think the match itself is going to be the greatest, because, Randy Orton's still dealing with his injuries. You got John Cena, who I feel like he kind of, I don't want to say, I'm trying to phrase this properly. I don't think he kind of phoned in his performance at WrestleMania. I just don't think it was the standard that everyone was expecting. But again, these guys have been through a lot. They've been wrestling a very long time. And, unfortunately, the business will take its toll on a lot of guys, especially for a Cena and an Orton, who for the longest time, they were just going through and doing like all the house shows and like all of the television shows and all the pay-per-view events. And when you look at the grand history of WWE, there's a lot of times where before them, the main eventers, the top stars, either didn't do all the different house show circuits, or they just weren't the top guys for as long as these two were. Because when I'm thinking about it, Ringmaster Stone Cold happened in late 1995, and then the walkout happens in 2002, and that's about, when you think about how long Orton and Cena have been on top, that's over 3 times as long as Stone Cold was even in WWE for that peak. So it's just wild to think about. And again, I'm very intrigued by the dynamic. I cannot wait to see what happens with Backlash next weekend. But Randy Orton, I think, is the guy that really, really made me excited for this match. Randy Orton gets on the microphone, and to be short, he wants to talk all about John Cena. He's going to rant for a long time about how fake John Cena is, and how he's not going to let John Cena retire with the title. And most importantly, they've been at it a long time together, and whether they were foes, whether they were friends, no one has ever seen the real John Cena like Randy Orton. John Cena, he sees you. The Viper wants to not just be the Viper anymore. That's a guy who wants to be the Legend Killer yet again. Legend Killer Randy Orton. Wow, it's going to be... John Cena wants to be a modern legend. He's got to go up against the Legend Killer. So, can you imagine if he comes out to Burn in My Light? Probably not. Randy hates that song so much, but that would have been funny. But Legend Killer Randy Orton is one, hey, listen, you don't want to mess with him. You're going to get that RKO out of nowhere, but you're also going to get that punt out of nowhere. I almost wonder if they're going to like run this again. I don't know if Chad, if you've heard anything regarding more ideas for what John Cena has in store for the next few months. I feel like you can't just do the Randy Orton thing as a one and done. However, did have one other aspect to this. I'm going to pull up the part right now because someone confronted Randy Orton during the night. R-Truth tells Randy Orton that he's got zero chance up against John Cena. As a Pro Wrestling Network said, it's entirely possible that R-Truth heel turn will be happening. Little Jimmy, hit the deck, be careful. Let's see what else we got going on here. Updated on the Backlash card, we also have for the Women's Intercontinental title, they announced Lara Valkyria taking on Becky Lynch, Pat McAfee versus Gunther. So those are going to be some Raw matches. But getting to the SmackDown side of things, this, so that's what led us up into the main event, which we already discussed. So after this episode, make sure you go and rewind and check that out. Again, I want to speak on to the point too of Jade and Tiffany and Naomi. I don't seem to have a picture of Nia Jax here, but I do want to circle back real quick and say that these four women, again, they had a fantastic showcase earlier in the night, and I think one of the biggest things moving forward is going to be just being able to see that variety. I've always really liked when SmackDown was sort of the variety show for the WWE. I don't know if you guys remember back in like 2004, 2005, they had an awesome cruiserweight division. They had a solid women's roster on SmackDown. It was fun. You also had great tag teams. You also had, of course, like some of the best main event and in-ring action. Do I need to even mention the SmackDown 6? The early years when Paul Heyman was writing SmackDown was just tremendous. The early 2000s for SmackDown was so good. And I think they've got the roster that they can absolutely utilize for this. Now, with the draft being announced, I don't know exactly where it's going to throw a lot of our star power here, but I really hope that we can rebuild the magic that was 2003 and 2004 SmackDown. Again, I think they've got the roster for it. I don't really want that purple cruiserweight title to come back. So please don't think I'm saying that, but you got a lot of great luchadors and got a lot of great lucha talent. Imagine having such a great lucha division, and with the AAA acquisition, the sky's the limit. So I think there's a lot of cool things that can happen, and maybe in the draft, who knows? Maybe beyond just Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Maybe you'll see some TNA talent in the draft. Maybe you'll see some AAA. Vikingo did get featured during WrestleMania, so anything is possible. Plus, say his name and he'll appear. Joe Hendry. You never know who's going to be drafted. But, I think you could really build up a fun roster quite reminiscent of that 2003-2004 peak SmackDown. That era's women's division wasn't as great in the ring, though, as this current one. And you got all of this great women's talent still on the roster, and especially with some NXT call-ups also happening, I think you could definitely reformat and make SmackDown truly a unique show. Thankfully, we're going to be doing away soon with a 3-hour format. I don't know about you guys. I have had absolutely enough of 3 hours, which is why I'm glad. The one good thing if a single person is on this show talking is the fact that it goes much faster. So you didn't have to sit through 3 hours and then just, hang out here. As much as I enjoy hanging out with you. But hey, that was this episode of SmackDown. Let's see if I had anything else written in the notes, like a last word. Again, it was one of those things that was just kind of hard to really get into the right mood and mindset for this episode with all the releases that happened both before and during the show. I can't really say that there was too much in terms of, storyline advancement. It was really nice to see Aleister Black come back. Love that he's got the old theme song. He didn't get CFO. But you know what? It was cool that we were able to set up for this. Probably out of everything, this was the one thing from tonight that I'm really excited for, and we'll wait and see how that goes. That was a really cool video that they did too to showcase everything from that iconic TLC match last week, and I hope we can definitely get some follow-up. It almost feels like, not just did they play the hits, but it feels like, we're going to have, especially Machine Guns, DIY, Street Profits as almost that new era triple tag team that's going to be going into TLCs. I hope that we can start a theme where maybe this is just TLC 1, and we'll have a 2 and a 3 down the line where all 3 of those teams working together. But again, this has been that episode of SmackDown. Now, we are going to be borrowing these next graphics from the Monday Night Raw show, but shout out to them. We gotta, of course, look at our Jobber of the Night. So, Jobber of the Night, I don't think any of the matches did necessarily like a bad job of making whoever, was the jobber, whoever lost it. I don't think any of them looked bad after. Had to pick one jobber though. Gosh, I hate to say it, but I feel like I'm gonna have to go with Pretty Deadly. I love them, they're entertaining, but it was a solid match they had, but I just don't think they've really been gaining much of anything recently, and they're such talented wrestlers. They're great entertainers. I think they're tremendous guys all around. I don't know. I think there's something that they're just going to be slotted down later into the card. They did a fantastic job though of making Praxium look phenomenal. So they're my jobbers of the night. But when you have a jobber of the night, you gotta look at your megastar of the night. John Cena might not be there, but you know who was? Randy Orton. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit since I had 2 jobbers. I'm gonna go with 2 megastars. My first one's gonna be Randy Orton. He had a very long extended promo, and I thought it was a great way to kind of mesh us back together. If you are a newer fan of WWE and might not be super familiar of the history of John Cena and Randy Orton, or if you're an older fan who maybe you forgot, maybe you're a lapsed fan who wasn't super familiar with certain eras, I think Randy did a great job of addressing that, and I think he also did a great job too of almost trying to be like he's coming off as the locker room leader. He's the established veteran that is around. He's the established veteran who, he sees John Cena, but he also sees all the talent. And I think he's trying to be that kind of, not to steal from CM Punk, but, the voice of the voiceless. He's the one that he stays with and will help the talent no matter what they might need. John Cena, you don't do that. I mean, I saw on one of Maven's videos, when he had MXM on there, even they were talking how a lot of the guys, especially top stars nowadays, have their own buses, and it's a different locker room environment, and you don't always have the locker room leaders in the locker room that you can always talk to. But Randy Orton is one of the guys that you can find and you can talk to, and even though he is one of the guys who probably has his own tour bus that he can go on, I'm sure he's still very old school and hanging out with the boys. But I mentioned I have 2 megastars of the night. Here's my second one. What do you guys think? I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. If you said Aleister Black, you will be absolutely right. Hey there, King. How's it going, man? Shout out to my WCW tag team partner, Mac Burns, as well. But yeah, Aleister Black, I think the biggest thing with this show is you're watching this for Aleister Black right now. He made his return from the last several years in AEW, and now he was able to have that match with The Miz. He's building forwards with whatever this was with Mello. I think there's going to be a lot that we're going to probably have going on. Talking about right now, I am live, and I believe SmackDown itself was live. I did not hear otherwise. But I do want to say, too, this has been the Dirt Sheet Radio. Sorry, I want to hit right there on that musical crescendo part. Guys, this has been Dirt Sheet Radio's SmackDown recap show. I'm Nick LaRocco. Let's get some music on here. Yeah, let's rock and roll. There we go. Hey, chat. Like I said, I'm Nick LaRocco. If you see me posting anywhere on the Dirt Sheet Radio page, please give me a like, give me a follow, leave me a comment. I love being able to talk to you guys both on the Dirt Sheet Radio page and on my own page. It is so much fun. We just surpassed 55,000 followers on Facebook. So again, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Now, if you're wondering, why am I wearing this mustard yellow tank top? Brother, it's Pasta Mania! You got the Pasta Mania running through my veins, dude. Well, if you're wondering about that, myself and from the comment section, my WCW tag team partner, Mr. Mac Burns, we went over 1985's Starrcade The Gathering from both the Greensboro Coliseum and the Omni. We had an amazing show where you had a few matches there, a few matches here, and a legendary steel cage I quit match between Megan TA and Tully Blanchard. Guys, come on. That was a fantastic match, one of the best of all time. I think it sets the standard for violence. So go and check out our recap show for Starrcade. We're going to be back at the end of the month, by the way, for... You ready? What's that? Bash at the Beach 1996. And we're going to celebrate Mac's birthday, too. So that's going to be fun. But, hey, you enjoyed hanging out with just me? Guess what? There's more where that came from. We got a lot of guys here on the team, and I am going to tell you all about it. On Monday Night Raw, we have the Raw recap, of course. Tuesday nights, NXT. On Wednesdays, you got the flagship Dirt Sheet Radio program that started all of this, including myself, John Escudero, and Greg Thomas. So go and check that out. And Thursday's ENA. Friday, you're already here. You know about this. It's SmackDown. Then don't forget, on the weekends, usually on Sundays, we're going to have 3NT lads going and talking anything and everything professional wrestling. You've got CJ and Tyler with the Weekend Wrestling Roundup with a W. That's a W right there if you go and check that out. And don't forget to, we also have all kinds of content for Dirt Sheet Radio, even beyond pro wrestling. You like anime? You like video games? You like comics? Guess what? We got all of that and then some, plus news. But hey, like I said, my name is Nick LaRocco. I wanted to thank you guys for joining me on this lightning round for SmackDown. You guys are awesome. Can't wait to see you next time. Peace out. Good night.